Hey everyone, just a quick reminder. Only about 25% of you watching are subscribed to the channel. If you're enjoying the content, hitting that subscribe button would really help the channel grow. And while you're at it, smash that like button too. It helps a ton, and lets me know you're enjoying the content. Thanks for being here, and let's dive into the story. I was pretty sure I just landed the chillest job in the world. $20 an hour to sit in a tiny radio station, spin reggae tracks, and vibe out while barely doing anything? Sign me up. The place was called KJAH 101.9 FM, a local late-night reggae station in a sleepy beach town. It wasn't a big corporate gig, more of a community thing, run by a guy who had definitely smoked every blunt in existence. His name was Big Trevor, a 6'4" Rasta with long dreads, a Bob Marley t-shirt, and a voice that rumbled like an earthquake on vacation. The dude barely had a stress bone in his body. "Yeah, man," he greeted me, passing me a coffee that definitely smelled like rum. "You just play the music, take the calls, and let the vibes flow, scene?" I nodded. Sounded easy enough. The studio was old school, all dusty record players and a soundboard that looked like it came from the 80s. The walls were covered in posters of Peter Tosh, Burning Spear, and Steel Pulse. A red, yellow, and green lava lamp bubbled in the corner. I sank into the chair and stretched my arms. "So, what's the catch?" Trevor chuckled, lighting a spliff the size of a marker. "Dare be some rules, man." He pulled out a tattered piece of paper, except it wasn't even a real paper. It was a record sleeve from an old Bob Marley album, covered in faded handwritten rules. I laughed. "You write the rules on vinyl?" Trevor grinned, but his eyes weren't joking. "Just follow 'em, mun. It keep the station stable." I rolled my eyes, grabbing the sleeve. The ink was red. Rules for the midnight shift at KJAH 101.9 FM. If a song starts playing that you didn't queue up, let it finish. The spirits have made a request. If you hear drumming in the background of a song that doesn't have drums, do not acknowledge it. At 2:17 a.m., the station will get a call from the Dread Man. Do not pick up. If you do, leave immediately. Every night you will get a request from a caller asking for the last rhythm. Tell them, "Not tonight, my friend." Then hang up. If the soundboard starts playing an echo of your own voice, shut down the station. That's not you. If a track starts playing in reverse, leave the room until it ends. Do not try to stop it. At exactly 3:33 a.m., you may hear drumming and chanting outside. Lock the doors, turn off the lights, and wait. It will pass. Before ending your shift, play Redemption Song. The station must close with peace, or it won't close at all. I burst out laughing. "Dude, is this some kind of stoner hazing ritual?" Trevor exhaled a long cloud of smoke, eyes half-lidded. "Just do what it say, man." I still thought it was a joke, but hey, if it kept Big Trevor's vibes balanced, I'd humor him. "All right," I said. "Let's spin some tunes." First hour? Smooth as hell. I played some Toots and the Maytals, let a few random stoners call in to ramble about UFOs, and kicked back in the chair. The hardest part of the job was not falling asleep. Then, at 2:17 a.m., the station phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID. Unknown caller. I hesitated, my mind flicking back to rule number 3. I didn't believe in ghost stories, but something about the phone ringing right at 2:17 a.m. made my skin prickle. I let it ring. It rang 8 times. Then it stopped. I exhaled. Weird. That's when the turntable spun on its own. A new track started playing. I stared at the record. I hadn't touched anything. But the speakers pulsed with deep bass, and a song I'd never heard before floated into the air. An old, grainy dub track. The bass line was wrong. It sounded like it was breathing. I sat there, frozen, my heart beating like a dance hall track on fast forward. Trevor's rule popped into my head. If a song starts playing that you didn't queue up, let it finish. I fought the urge to skip the track. Instead, I just listened. For a moment it was normal, just some old-school reggae with heavy bass and echo effects. Then, at exactly 2:19 a.m., the whispers started. Faint voices buried under the music, like something inside the bass line was trying to talk. I leaned closer to the speakers. The whispers were saying my name. I snapped back, my chair rolling away. The song kept playing, the bass line pulsing in sync with my heartbeat. A chill crawled up my spine. I checked the turntable. The vinyl wasn't spinning, but the song was still playing. The phone rang again. I swallowed, staring at the caller ID. It wasn't unknown this time. It was a normal number. I picked up. KJAH 101.9 FM. What's up? The voice on the other end was raspy, barely above a whisper. Play the last rhythm. My skin crawled. Rule number 4. I forced a laugh. Not tonight, my friend. Silence. Then the caller exhaled. Bad choice, man. Click. The line went dead, and that's when I heard the drums. I sat there, gripping the armrests of my chair, heart still hammering from the call. The speakers hummed with dead air, the record that had somehow played itself now perfectly still on the turntable. I took a deep breath, trying to shake it off. Maybe it was just a prank caller, some stoner messing with me. Yeah, that had to be it. Then the drums started. At first I thought it was just a track bleeding over in the system, maybe some old reggae instrumental looping in the background. But the longer I listened, the more I realized there was no track playing. The sound wasn't coming from the speakers. It was coming from inside the studio. A slow, steady rhythm. Deep, distant, but getting closer. It didn't sound like a drum kit. It was more ancient, like something you'd hear in a ritual. My eyes flicked to the rule sheet. Rule number 2. If you hear drumming in the background of a song that doesn't have drums, do not acknowledge it. But what if there was no song? Did the rule still apply? The beat grew louder, like invisible hands were pounding on old stretched skin. A trickle of sweat ran down my back. I forced myself to look straight ahead, to not react. I reached for the soundboard, trying to keep my hands from shaking. All right. Next up, we got some Burning Spear. My voice cracked mid-sentence. The drumming stopped. I swallowed hard, staring at the microphone. Something felt wrong in the air, like the pressure in the room had shifted. Then, just when I thought I was safe, a new sound crept in through the headphones resting on the console. Breathing. Long, shaky exhales. Not mine. I snatched the headphones off the board and threw them to the floor. The moment they hit, the breathing stopped. Silence. I sat frozen, barely daring to breathe myself. Then the station phone rang again. Unknown caller. I squeezed my eyes shut. Don't answer it, don't answer it. The ringing felt like it went on forever, buzzing in my skull. Then it stopped. Relief washed over me. Until the lights flickered. A sharp electric buzz filled the air as the overhead bulbs dimmed, then sputtered back to life. My stomach twisted. Then I heard it. A voice. Not over the speakers, not from the phone. It was coming from the corner of the room. You played a last rhythm now, man. I spun around so fast my chair nearly tipped over. There was no one there. The lava lamp flickered violently, its colored wax shifting in erratic shapes. The air smelled stronger now. Incense, but underneath it, something else. Something rotten. A voice crackled over the soundboard, low and distorted. You should have played it, Zane. I scrambled to mute the board, my fingers fumbling over the sliders. I killed every channel, every mic. Dead silence. My pulse pounded in my ears. I glanced at the clock. 3:32 a.m. I knew what that meant. Rule number 7. At exactly 3:33 a.m., you may hear drumming and chanting outside. Lock the doors, turn off the lights, and wait. It will pass. I had 30 seconds. I jumped up, lunging for the door. My hands fumbled against the lock as I twisted the deadbolt into place. My chest felt tight, panic rising like bile. I spun back, flipping every light switch, plunging the room into darkness. Then I waited. 3:33 a.m. The drumming returned. It was louder now, right outside the station. Rhythmic, relentless. Voices joined in, a deep guttural chant, the words thick with an accent I couldn't place. I pressed my back against the wall, trying not to breathe too loudly. Something moved past the window. A shadow. Tall, slow, almost gliding. The neon on-air sign outside dimmed as it passed. I shut my eyes. Don't look. The chanting grew, rolling in waves as if the whole building was surrounded. Then, silence. I cracked one eye open. The room was still. The neon sign flickered back to life. The air smelled normal again. I let out a shaky breath. I had followed the rules, and I was still here. Then the speakers turned on by themselves. A voice crackled through the system, deep and slow. Good, but you still owe me a song. The station powered down. The turntable spun without records. And in the silence, I heard one last thing, a chuckle, and the sound of someone breathing behind me. The air in the station felt heavy, like I was standing at the bottom of the ocean. The silence wasn't normal. It wasn't peaceful. It was watching me. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The chuckle had come from behind me, but I was alone. I clenched my fists, forcing my body to stay still. My mind was screaming at me to turn around to see what was there, but I knew better. Rule number 7. I'd followed the rules. The drumming stopped, the chanting passed. I'd done everything right. So why did it feel like I'd messed up? Slowly, I reached for the control board, my fingers trembling. I flipped the main power switch. Nothing. The station remained dead. The lights stayed off. The only thing still running was the turntable. It spun silently, no record on it, just rotating over empty space. My breath hitched. I wasn't sure I could take much more of this. Then the phone rang. I jumped so hard my knee slammed into the console. The pain barely registered. The station phone blinked, its red light flashing in the dark. Unknown caller. I backed away. The ringing was wrong. Too deep. Too slow. Like the sound was being dragged through something thick. I wasn't gonna answer. Then, after the third ring, a voice came through the speakers, even though the system was off. Pick up, mun. We be waitin'. Nope. Hell no. I grabbed the entire phone and ripped the cord out of the wall. The ringing stopped immediately. But something else started. A voice. Not from the speakers. Not from the phone. From inside the room. You shouldn't have done that. I spun around, expecting, I don't know what. Some kind of shadowy figure, a floating specter, a goddamn monster. There was nothing. Then the turntable needle dropped onto the empty platter, and a song started playing. It wasn't reggae. It wasn't music at all. It was whispers. Layered, overlapping, hundreds of voices murmuring at once. Some deep, some sharp, some guttural, some sounding like they were right behind my ear. I tried to focus, to pick out a single word, but the whispers bent in on themselves, changing mid-syllable, shifting languages I didn't recognize. The only thing I understood was my own name, whispered over and over and over again. I clamped my hands over my ears. Enough! The whispering stopped. Then a new sound started. Laughter. Deep, ragged, inhuman laughter. It came from the control board, the speakers, the phone, the walls. And then, as if the universe wasn't already testing my sanity, I heard something even worse. Knocking. Not on the walls, not on the door. From inside the record cabinet. My stomach flipped. My body screamed at me to get the hell out. The knocking came again, 3 solid thuds from within the wooden cabinet across the room. The one where we kept all the old vinyl, the records that hadn't been played in years. Then, ever so slightly, the cabinet door creaked open. I should have run. I should have left the station and never looked back. But I didn't. I stepped closer. I don't know why. Maybe I was too scared to turn my back on it. Maybe it was pulling me in. Inside the cabinet, in the dim red glow of the on-air sign, I saw something I didn't put there. A single record. The cover was black with no title, no label, just a white skull in the center. My mouth was dry. My hands were shaking, but against every instinct in my body, I picked it up, and written on the back, in faded red ink, was a message. You owe me a song. The control board powered back on. The turntable stopped spinning. The lights flickered back to life, and the record in my hands felt warm, like something was inside it. The station was waiting for me to play it. I wasn't sure if I had a choice. My fingers hovered over the record, my skin crawling with a deep primal warning. Don't play it. But something else whispered back. You have to. I didn't know if it was coming from inside my own head or if it was something else. Something inside the station. The weight of the vinyl felt unnatural, warmer than it should have been, like it had been sitting in the sun. The black cover, blank except for that white skull, felt like it was watching me. I swallowed hard, glancing at the soundboard. The system was powered back on, waiting, the lights blinking in anticipation. The turntable sat still, needle up. Everything in the room was waiting for me to drop the record. I had two choices: play it, or break the rules. I stared at the rule sheet, my heart hammering. The list said nothing about refusing to play a song that was given to me. I exhaled, steadying my shaking hands. All right, man, I muttered to no one. Let's see what's so special about you. I placed the record on the turntable. The vinyl felt too smooth, almost slick, like glass. The moment the needle touched the surface, the station lights dimmed. The speakers let out a long, slow exhale, like the entire building had just breathed in. Then the music started. Or at least, I think it was music. A low, pulsing bass line rolled through the room, deeper than any sound should be able to go. It felt like it was vibrating inside my chest, shaking my ribs. Then the drums kicked in, slow, ritualistic. I recognized them. The same drums I had heard earlier, the ones that had come from nowhere. The air in the station turned thick, humid, as if the temperature had jumped 20 degrees. My vision blurred at the edges. And then, the whisper started again. Layered, deep, wrapped inside the track, like voices were hiding beneath the bass line. I gripped the desk, sweat rolling down my back. This wasn't a song. It was a summoning. The whispers grew louder, untangling themselves into something almost human. Then one voice cut through the rest. It was deep, rolling like thunder, thick with an accent I couldn't place. "Me say ya shoulda played it sooner, mun." I froze. The voice had come from the speakers, but it wasn't part of the song. I swallowed, my throat dry. Who are you?" The bass line warped, bending into something inhuman. "Me be the dread man, and you shouldn't have answered me call." The record skipped. The room shook. Then the power cut out. Total blackness. I heard something step forward, not from the hallway, not from outside, from inside the studio. The breath left my lungs. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it. A presence, heavy, waiting. The air was thick with incense and rot. The voice came again, closer this time. "Play it backwards." I gritted my teeth, forcing my body to stay still. I don't think that's a good idea, man." Silence. Then the temperature dropped so fast my breath came out in white mist. A pressure wrapped around my chest, like invisible hands were pressing down. "Play it backwards." The record spun on its own. The needle lifted, moved, and dropped. The speakers groaned, and the track began to play in reverse. I barely registered the sound at first. A low, distorted voice, stretched and warped, dragging syllables through the void. Then I understood it. It was speaking in English now, and it was saying my name. "Zane, come see, come see." come see." The record spun faster. The whispers turned to screams. My ears rang. My vision blurred. I stumbled back, my legs barely holding me up. Then, a hand clamped down on my shoulder. Fingers dug into my skin, cold and unmistakably real. I whipped around, and the world collapsed. I hit the ground hard, my back slamming against the tile floor. My vision blurred, my ears ringing with that warped, reversed voice echoing through the studio. The hand on my shoulder was gone, but the chill it left behind burned like frostbite. The record was still spinning, the voices inside it getting louder. "Zane, come see. Come see." I clawed at the soundboard, desperately searching for the power switch. The whole building felt wrong, the air thick with something heavy and ancient. Then the lights flickered back on, and I saw it. A shadow in the doorway. Tall, lean, its limbs too long, its silhouette wavering like it wasn't fully there. The neon on-air sign outside buzzed and dimmed as it moved. I couldn't see a face, but I could feel its eyes on me. It stepped forward. The floor creaked beneath its weight. My body refused to move. The record on the turntable skipped violently. The voice from the speakers grew clearer. "Me say ya shoulda played it sooner, mon." The shadow stopped just inside the room, close enough that I could see the air ripple around it, like heat distortion off asphalt. Close enough that I could smell salt, incense, and something rotting. Then, it spoke. Not from the speakers, not from the record, from inside the room. "Me been waiting for you, Zane." My stomach dropped. It knew my name. The temperature plunged again, the warmth from the studio lamps dying out like a snuffed candle. My breath came out in short, misty puffs. I forced my body to move, scrambling backward on the floor. My hand hit the rule sheet, crumpling it beneath my palm. I glanced at it, and I saw the last rule. Before ending your shift, play Redemption Song. The station must close with peace, or it won't close at all. That was it. That was the only way out. I lunged for the record cabinet, ripping through sleeves of vinyl, my fingers shaking. The shadow took another step forward, its form bending unnaturally at the joints. The turntable spun faster, the reversed voice growing frantic. "Come see, come see, come see." There, Bob Marley. Redemption Song. I grabbed the record, nearly snapping it in half as I shoved it onto the second turntable. The shadow let out a low, distorted breath. "You too late, man." I slammed the needle onto the vinyl. The first soft guitar chords hit the air. The station lights flared, the neon sign outside buzzing violently. The air shifted, the weight pressing down on my chest lifting. The speakers crackled, the reversed whispers dying out. I turned my head. The shadow was gone. The temperature rose back to normal. The record on the first turntable stopped spinning. The power hummed softly through the studio again, like nothing had ever happened. The clock on the wall read 4:01 a.m. My shift was over. I slumped against the console, gasping for air. My body ached, my skin was ice cold, and my mind was still trying to process what the hell just happened. Then the station phone rang. A normal ring. Not distorted, not slow, just a phone. I hesitated, then picked it up with a shaking hand. KJAH 101.9 FM, I croaked. A long pause. Then Big Trevor's voice. "Ya still alive, mon?" I let out a shaky laugh, relief flooding through me. "Yeah, man," I breathed. Barely. Trevor let out a deep, rumbling chuckle. "You played the right song, me brethren, but me think you should quit while you ahead." I closed my eyes. He didn't have to tell me twice.